what is C&D? So that's our kind of industry lingo for construction and demolition debris. It is a catch-all term for residential, commercial, industrial, as well as infrastructure. Basically, anytime something is built or demolished, that creates C&D debris. The graph on the left here is looking at the US overall. So obviously we have a lot of concrete being used that makes up the biggest proportion of the C&D waste stream, as well as asphalt pavement. But there's a diversity of materials that are produced from that, which we have to try and manage. And you can just think about your average home building, how many different types of materials go into that. So it's pretty complex waste stream. In the US overall, for our recycling rates, there's sort of a diversity of diversion rates. We're pretty good at concrete and asphalt. The majority of that is recycled because the economics have kind of been proven already for that. But then we struggle with things like asphalt shingles and plastics and on this table here, brick as well. But I'll point out in Colorado, for things like gypsum drywall, which on here says 29% recycling rate, we're virtually zero. There's really no end market for that in the state of Colorado. And the same thing goes for plastics and carpeting as well. There's kind of limited options in our state. So we're kind of lagging behind some of these numbers, but we don't really have great data about the statewide diversion of these. So why are we focusing on C&D diversion? Well, first of all, it's because it will help us reach our statewide recycling goals. As most of you know, we're lagging behind not only the US, but our statewide waste diversion goals. We're at about 15%, 16%. And with C&D being such a big portion of our waste stream, if we can better divert these materials from the landfill, that'll really help out our overall state recycling rate. But there's, of course, different benefits to this from the environmental perspective: conserving landfill space, reduce energy consumption and greenhouse gas emissions. A lot of these materials are energy intensive to produce, as well just conserving the raw materials that go into producing them. From sort of the social, economic aspects, if we have more of a local building or a reused building material supply, that can promote local resiliency, relying less on bringing materials in. As you probably all know as well, recycling has been found to create more jobs than landfilling does, ton for ton. And deconstruction, as opposed to demolition, has the benefit of workforce development as well. So if you are working on a deconstruction job, you're learning how to unbuild something, you have a pretty good idea of how to build something up from the ground up. So this is sort of a great benefit. And that's just a couple to throw out there. But in Colorado today, we have it's estimated 2 million tons of material will be generated across the state, and that's about 1/3 of our total waste generation. Just this year, under the new Front Range Waste Diversion Grant Program, there was a C&D RFP that went out. And so $1.4 million was awarded to 5 different projects focused on C&D, from drywall end markets to C&D sorting facilities to building material reuse, warehousing, trying to build out that capacity. So there's money and emphasis going to C&D in Colorado now, especially through the local ordinances and codes that are being developed and rolled out and discussed, from the ones we'll be talking about today to different mountain communities looking at codes as well. And then not directly C&D recycling, but there's a bill right now that's being discussed on embodied carbon. So looking at the environmental footprint of building materials and how can the state kind of lead on reducing the footprint of our buildings. So